Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Friday edition of the Daily Trader. I'm Kevin Hincks. We got two good stocks for today, and we got a market that is moving. And we're going to look at Nvidia ahead of their earnings next Wednesday, November 20th, after the bell. That'll be the biggest mover of the week. And we'll look at Tesla. It ran up. It's coming back down. It's firmer today on some news, so we'll talk about all that. But first, let's get to our macro minute. This morning, we got retail sales. Now, if you look at the 10-year yield, it's slightly higher. It's trading 4.46%. Why? Retail sales were stronger than expected. Up 0.4 versus consensus of up 0.3. The X vehicles up 0.1. That was a miss. X vehicles and gas up 0.1. That was a miss. Well, why is it better if it was a miss? The revisions to last month. Up 0.4 to up 0.8 on the headline. X vehicles up 0.5 to 1% higher, and X vehicles and gas up 0.7 to up 1.2%. So big revisions to last month's retail sales number and a good solid beat on this month's headline. That's why yields are stronger. Why is the dollar higher? The dollar's higher because, in my opinion, obviously, this is UK data. United Kingdom GPD data, very weak at up 0.1% year over year, up 1%. The UK industrial production levels, all negative across the board. What does that mean in terms of the US dollar? Our economy, stronger than the UK. That means the dollar is stronger today. And the dollar, like I said, up over almost touching 107 now, 106.83. So those are the reasons that the macro indicators are moving today. The market, a sell-off. I've got the S&P down 1.2%, the NASDAQ down 2% as we record this show. So let's get to our trades today. First, Nvidia. Now remember, Nvidia's got earnings next week, so you're going to look at everything you do like an earnings play for next week. And so the trade we looked at in Nvidia, all the things they have going on, what they think. Remember, a quarter ago it was about $30 billion in revenue. This time they're looking for $32.5 billion in revenue. And here's the thing. Whatever that number is, whatever that looks for, they better beat by about $2 billion. That's been the benchmark. That's been the whisper number on Nvidia. So when we get earnings next week, if they're looking for $32.5 billion, they're going to need 34. Now, the good news is Jensen Huang talking about insane demand. The Hopper chip is doing extremely well. Fourth quarter, sometime they're going to start rolling out the Blackwell chip. The demand for that is apparently sold out. So I expect NVIDIA to continue to put up numbers. That doesn't mean, and here's a theme for today's show, none of these big stocks that we talk about every day on this show can dodge a global sell-off. In very rare occasions can these companies avoid when the entire market is down. You got the NASDAQ down 2% right now. Those stocks are going to be heavy. The S&P down 1.2%. Those stocks are all going to be heavy. So get yourself ready for next week with NVIDIA. And the practice trade I looked at here is, and now remember, I put these on an hour ago. The market has moved since then. So we're buying the November 29th weekly option, buying the 145 call, which is, just slightly out of the money. Looking at the expected move for next week, I calculated it using just a basic taking the at-the-money straddle. About 80% of that is about $10. So if it's going to be around a between $10 and $11 expected one-day move for NVIDIA next week, what I wanted to look at was the November 29th, 145 call, buying, then selling next week, the November 22nd, the earnings week 155 call. So preparing for a $10 move. It's about a $4.30 debit. Now it's trading about $4.10. So you can get that a little cheaper because NVIDIA has sold off, but this is a $10 call diagonal, giving yourself a little delta in NVIDIA and getting ready. Remember, and next week, you think about this. If you buy the November 29th expiration, you're buying about a 73 implied volatility. Not cheap, but you're selling in the November 22nd on 90 volatility. Now, those numbers may still go higher as we go into next week, as we work towards that earnings event. This is a trade that gets ready. Remember, it's for the upside. This is a bullish play on Nvidia's earnings. All right, now let's get to our second trade of the day, and that is Tesla. Now, Tesla is one of those stocks, even though it's in the S&P 500, in the NASDAQ, it's higher today. Why? On some good news, right? Remember, this stock has been incredibly volatile lately, running from the areas around $285 to $358. Now it's back around $317. And it's, remember, when you think about Tesla, you think about EVs, and you think about Elon Musk now being involved with the Trump administration, so kind of a most favored nation status there. But Trump came out, the Trump administration told yesterday they would prefer to lose the $7,500 tax credit for EVs. That would actually hurt Tesla, or would it? Right? If Tesla can compete, if it's a level playing field, Tesla will still compete with other cars. Now, it may make all EVs less popular, but number one, you're assuming that it's going to be taken out, and you're assuming that Tesla wouldn't be the winner in any level field competition, and you're also discounting that Tesla, some of the other parts of Tesla, like the robo-taxi and the robo-cab and storage, energy storage and energy charging and the mega pack and everything else that they have going on, isn't going to flourish during that period. So this is a stock that is moving all over the place. It's got an expected move for today as the front month implied vol reaches 118. It's got an expected move for next week as next week's implied vol is 69 versus 64 in the November 29th. So how did we look at this? I kept it simple for you today. Same exact expirations, buying November 29th, selling November 22nd. In this case, now this is one that's moving all over the board. We originally had this trade in buying the November 29th 320 call and selling the 340 call into next week, the November 22nd. So the same expirations, buying 2 weeks out, selling next week's, doing, in this case, a $20 diagonal. Nvidia's was a 10. Why? Look at the expected move on your right-hand column. On the Thinkorswim platform, it's about $24, almost $25. Could you extend that based on that move? You sure could. I think in this case, where we're looking at, I have that in at a 950 debit. It's trading closer to 928, 930 right now, but it's all over the board. Tesla was actually soft to start the day. It traded as low as 309 and some change before rallying right after the open today. So big ranges in Tesla, very volatile. We were checking the option stats page. 1.3 million options have already traded today, only a little over an hour into the trading day. So Tesla's going to have a big trading day here. So again, two stocks, two bullish plays, Nvidia, Tesla, both buying the November 29th expiration, selling next week's higher implied volatility. One is an earnings play. One is because Tesla is just extremely volatile. And like I said, if you look at Tesla with a 358 high off that surge, off the Trump victory, it's down 40 full dollars off that high. Now, could it go lower? Of course it can. That's why we used risk-defined strategies in these. We limit our risk, so you don't have $317 exposed. Remember, the risk on these trades is the debit paid. So if Tesla's trading about $9.30, that's the risk on this diagonal that you're trading in Tesla. So I think it's going to be a big week next week. Not big for economic data, not big for high profile earnings, but Nvidia, probably the most high profile earnings that we'll see in this quarter. That's coming out next week. So it's a big week, mostly surrounding Nvidia's earnings and speculation. Remember, the sector of stocks that Nvidia will move based on its earnings. Supermicro's got earnings next week. That'll be an incredibly important story for the move. And it's linked to Nvidia, as you know. So a lot going on next week. We're going to cover them all on Daily Trader. So that's my show for today. Have a great day and a great weekend, everyone. We'll see you next week with more editions of the Daily Trader. I'm Kevin Hincks.